Hey folks, it's time for the quote of the day. And one of the great things about doing the birthday thing for the quote of the day, which I really, really love, and I've talked about it a little bit before, is the fact that I get to really swing. I get to make these huge swings from one thing to another. It's great for my mind. It really does allow me to like really switch perspectives and the things that I talk about in a really rapid fire way. Because a lot of times, we become kind of entrenched in a way of thinking and we don't really realize it. But this exercise every day allows me to really expand the way that I'm able to get from one thing to another. The last 2 days, I've quoted essentially entertainers to a certain degree. I quoted Lucille Ball and then I quoted James Randi, the amazing Randy. Granted, he had a different career arc that led him away from being an entertainer, but there's definitely like a way of thinking about these two people where it's kind of lighthearted and fun to a certain degree. We're going to swing deftly away from that for today's video. Today we are celebrating the birthday of one of the most important Mexican revolutionaries of all time, Emiliano Zapata. Now, I think that, it's really important that people know a little bit about him. I know that when you think of a Mexican revolutionary, most people think of Pancho Villa, but Zapata was absolutely like one of the most important fucking revolutionaries and one of the most important voices. And what he stood for, I think, is really important for people to understand right now, today. Zapata was, he was, I don't even know how you'd put it. He was somebody that fought for the poor, right? Like Pancho Villa fought for a little bit more. I'm not just gonna. I don't want to say that he was more egotistic, but he was a little bit more egotistical. Like he cared about his persona. He cared about the legend a little bit more. And that shows, like the way that we remember them. That shows. Zapata didn't care about that stuff. He didn't, it wasn't important to him really what people thought of him, other than the fact he wanted people to know that he was a good man, right? Like that's what he cared about. He cared about the fact that people knew that he was a principled man. And for the most part, you can say that about him. I mean, there were decisions that he made in near the end of his, I guess you could say, campaign, that were bad. Like certainly history looks at them and there's blood on his hands, right? Like, but for the most part, this was a guy that really didn't even want to be in a position of leadership necessarily, but just saw it as something like it was a necessity. Now, I want you to think about that. I want you to parallel that with today. I want you to think about the way that, to a certain degree, Americans as a whole, if you're somebody that has a problem with the current regime, then there is a feeling of like powerlessness, right? Like all the systems of power are against us. And Zapata definitely understands this. This is something that he spoke out against. He was actually very, very, very animated about, was the fact that the systems of government, now granted it was a true dictatorship at that point in time, but the systems of government were all against the people, the poor, the ones that are, the downtrodden, if you will. And this is what he understood, was that these peasants, which is what they were, Mexican peasants, were the key to the country. And the fact that their land was being taken from them, that they were being displaced, that they were being essentially bullied and torn away from their ancestral places. Like these are the things that he saw. Like basically at one point in time in Mexico, before the revolution really kicked off, the government, the dictatorial government, controlled like 75% of the land under their name, and had just taken it. They had just taken it from the commoners, the peasants. They had just taken it from them, and all the land that they were given, given, was land that wasn't good. And so they were basically just left in places. And as a Native American, this hits very close to home, right? Like as somebody who understands displacement and a government or a group of people coming and forcing you off your land and saying, you don't get this good stuff. We get to take the good stuff. You get that patch of dirt over there. That's your home now. Like this hits close to home for me. And Zapata was somebody that, he saw this. He saw how there was no justice, right? There was just no justice being done. All of the systems of power, all of the law enforcement, if you want to call it that, it wasn't really that. It all favored the dictatorial powers of the government. That's all it was. It was just strong-armed fucking thugs going from place to place, taking over shit. And Zapata took a stand, and he fought against it. Now, I'm going to use a couple of quotes from him, but we're going to focus on one. But I want to make sure that people understand that when you hear there is a line that he said, a quote from him that everybody will recognize. Everybody has heard it, and everybody knows it, and it comes directly from him. And Emiliano Zapata wasn't a fighter necessarily. He did fight because he had to, but he didn't go into it. Like Pancho Villa went into it as like a revolutionary. But Zapata didn't do that. He wanted to talk about it. He wanted to use the levers of government and power. And then when it became very obvious to him through multiple backhanded deals that he wasn't going to be able to use those same things, the levers of power were used against him, he took up a rifle. And this is what he said. He said, "I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees." He would rather die on his feet than live on his knees. He didn't want to bow. He didn't want to kneel. He didn't want to scrape by for a living. That's not life for him. He wanted to stand up and fight because that's what was necessary. Not because he was a fighter, but because that's what was necessary. And this lesson from Zapata is very, very important in today's world. It's very, very important. You know, there was a point in time when the peasants of Mexico were clamoring for a leader. They needed somebody to step up and speak for them, to show them the way, because they were peasants. They didn't know what to do. Like many people that we see, many people in comments, many people that I talk to, they didn't know what to do. They felt completely and totally powerless. And Zapata stood up and said, "All right, I guess I'll lead." Like, that's really honestly how it came about. He wasn't like, "We're going to go and do this and this and this." He had come from a family that wasn't wealthy, but for where they were better off than everybody else. And he had used his skills as a horse trainer to kind of, you know, get a little spot for himself, right? Like in the society. So he was well known, but he wasn't a revolutionary until he had to be, until he recognized that there was no other way to do it. He had tried, he had sat down, he had had the meetings, he had tried to, you know, take part in a sham fucking democratic election that wasn't really ever going to happen. He had tried to do all the things the right way, and at every fucking turn he was thwarted. And that's when he became a revolutionary. Now, I think that it's important for people to know that, you know, if you don't know this, and a lot of people don't know this, that Zapata was essentially the southern representative of revolution, and Pancho Villa was the northern representative of revolution. And that's kind of important to know. Like, these two men, they fought for different things, but they basically were forming revolutionary armies of, you know, peasants that would end up basically taking the country. Now, it doesn't end well for anybody in this story, right? Like, none of the people involved in the Mexican Revolution came out, well, alive, really. I mean, Zapata was gunned down in an ambush that he probably should have seen coming. Let's be really clear about this. Like, okay, we're going to meet and talk about this thing out in the middle of nowhere, you know, don't bring many guys, and then literally was ambushed and filled full of bullets. But he did that because he wanted to see, like, he was trying to make big leaps and wanted to see big changes. And unfortunately, in the end, it all basically just ended in bloodshed and gore. Now, I'm going to leave you with this quote of the day. Since I already gave you one, I'm going to leave you with this one. And I think that in today's world, you need to think about this. You need to really recognize it and understand what he means. Emiliano Zapata once said, "If there is not justice for the people, let there be no peace for the government. If there is no justice for the people, let there be no peace for the government." Couldn't agree more. He may not have been the greatest person to have ever lived, but he was absolutely a man that people could follow, and we need more of those. Happy birthday to Emiliano Zapata, and to the rest of you, take care of yourself, take care of others. I'll talk to you soon.